Hi everyone. Wishing you all a very, very happy new year. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season, and I hope you are approaching 2020 with a fresh, new attitude of how life can be and should be for you. And I hope that the year brings you abundance in all things wonderful, your spiritual growth, your finances, love in your life, all those wonderful things. So I've certainly had a interesting 2019. Just a very brief synopsis. It started in January when my beautiful 13-year-old Bodie died, my little dog, my little Jack Russell, who I had adopted years ago when somebody just dumped him in the country. And on my son's insistence, I started looking at the pictures of dogs that were up for adoption in our local kennels. And I found our little Riley, who is now the love of my life. He is the sweetest, cuddliest dog I have ever owned, and I've owned a lot of dogs. So, you know, things went well. The house had to have a lot of work done. The fence was falling down. When the movers moved me a while back, they dropped a lot of my outdoor furniture and damaged it greatly, so I had to bring somebody in to do that. And there was just a lot of time fixing things. And then in October, actually, yeah, I think it was late October, I was diagnosed with macular degeneration. And I have the wet variety, which is the serious one, so now I'm going and getting shots in my eyes once a month so far. But the right eye is worse than the left, so they're just watching the left one, which also has the wet macular degeneration, but the right eye is so bad, they're putting all the focus on that one right now. Shots, I don't feel the shots at all. I have no after effects other than, you know, they put a patch on my eye and I can't look, you know, and dark glasses too, so that the dark glasses over the patch, which looks really strange. I can't drive afterwards, and I have to leave that on for 3 hours. And the first time they did it, I had a little reaction the next day or two, and just, you know, pressure on the eye. But the last time they did it, I had no reaction at all. So, and the last time they gave me the test, it showed that there was some improvement in that right eye. Because they give you extensive tests before they do the next shot to see what's going on. So that's what's been happening with me. But I had a lovely December. My son and daughter-in-law gave me a wonderful birthday party for my 80th birthday on the 19th. They were up here and just left yesterday. They had their wonderful Christmas Eve dinner, Christmas morning breakfast while presents were opened. They had a great Christmas Eve dinner. And then we had what they've been doing for the last several years is they had a big lobster fest party. Sean flies in like a crate of lobsters. We had at least 20 people there. And there was so much lobster left over because he always buys a lot of extra ones just in case. Doesn't want people to go hungry. And so I came home New Year's night with 2 cooked lobster tails, 2 claws for dessert. And I still had some lobster bisque. I just had it for my lunch, and I have leftover lobster and throwing in a salad tonight. So I think I am lobstered out for a while, but it was wonderful. It always is. So now 2020. What is going to be my first video 2020? Well, interestingly enough, I got on YouTube this morning, and friend Becca Hale was doing a little review of the new Thoth deck that she just got. And it turns out she wasn't overly thrilled with the deck. Well, first of all, they didn't send her the full size as it appeared to be when she ordered it. She got a smaller size deck. And so that prompted me to go look and find my Thoth deck, because when I got into tarot, which was only a little over a year ago, after years of never looking at the deck I bought in the early 80s, you know, well, I shouldn't say never, but maybe once a year I pull it out with the little white book. I had no idea that anything was on YouTube, because YouTube was not around when I got that deck. And so I had no experience. I didn't know about books. I knew nothing. So, but through YouTube I saw that, wow, there's this whole tarot community, and there are all these helpful videos and recommendations for decks and books, and I jumped in like full force. I started buying every deck that looked pretty. I had to have it, right? I mean, I'm now over that, but I'm easily sold, especially with certain decks. And one of the decks I bought was a Thoth deck, because years ago, when I was meditating, like sometimes 8-10 hours a day, meditation, yoga, I came out of meditation one day, and I had been transcending with a certain mantra. But when I came out of meditation, I was chanting this other Sanskrit word. And I had a Sanskrit dictionary, or maybe I went out and bought it after that, because I had a few experiences of having wild experiences of meeting people in other realms who talked to me like in Sanskrit, and I thought, I have to buy one of these dictionaries. So I looked up the dictionary, and it related to the heart chakra, opening energy of the heart chakra. And I looked that word up on the internet, and there was an article about Aleister Crowley, and I really didn't know anything about him. And I started reading about him. I guess in his early days, he was very much into the Vedic wisdom and meditation, and he had the same experience that I had coming out of meditation, saying that same mantra. So when I saw that there was a Thoth deck, I thought, oh, Thoth, he's the fellow who helped give the energy and helped with building the Great Pyramid. He came in and helped them do that, according to my channel teacher. So I got this Aleister Crowley Thoth deck. I got the green version, which is the one with the large cards. And I had looked at some pictures of it, and I thought that the deck and the cards were really pretty. But when I got the deck and opened it up, after I had been reading about the Rider-Waite and had one or two of those decks or similar clones, I took one look at this deck and I thought, what do I do with this thing? I had no book other than the little book that came with it. And I thought it was beautiful, but I put it aside. So after seeing Becca's video today, I went and got the deck. And I looked at it again. And I don't think I ever shuffled it. I didn't do anything to it. So today I took it out. So I'm going to do, and I've never done a review of it. So I'm looking at it anew today with new eyes. So I'm going to take it out of this beautiful place. And let's see here. I think I left the book. Yeah, no, the book is here. Okay, let's see what they give you. So I like the back of the cards. There's a white border there, but it's not very big, and so I don't mind it. And that's the little card they give you with it. And then here, there's just one little blurb here about the deck. And it says the Ordo Templi Orientis. And then there's the symbology there. It says the tarot is a pictorial representation of the forces of nature as conceived by the ancients according to conventional symbolism. At first sight, one would suppose this arrangement to be arbitrary, but it is not. It is necessitated by the structure of the universe, and in particular of the solar system, as symbolized by the Holy Kabbalah, Aleister Crowley. And this comes from, this card, or the note on here, comes from the Ordo Templi Orientis International Headquarters in Austin, Texas. I think that's an organization that he started, I believe. And then this deck, although it was designed by Crowley, the artwork was done by the woman who was his girlfriend at the time. And her name was Lady Frida Harris. So today, after watching a couple of videos on this, and I saw one that struck me very good with a couple of book recommendations. So I immediately got online, and I thought, I'm going to tackle this deck this year. Because one of the videos I watched, the girl said, although she'd been doing tarot for 30-something years with Rider-Waite, she thinks that if she had started with this, she would be doing this because she thinks this would have been easier to learn than Rider-Waite. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. So let me get a couple of those books that the other gal had recommended. And one of them was the Aleister Crowley Tarot Keywords. And the other one was the book by Aleister Crowley called The Essays, and it's about the book. So I found used versions of both of them. I think I found one on Amazon, and I think I found another one on eBay. So I ordered those books. So I'm looking forward to reading them with the cards. But the book is it's a small book, but it's not as small or as tiny in quality or the cards, whatever, as the Rider-Waite that I have in my original Rider-Waite deck. And there is a large, let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12. There's a 15 card spread that they give in here. Now it's interesting that the deck that Becca Kale from Intuitive Tarot was showing this morning, which came in a bigger box and it was a smaller deck, she got this very large open pullout with a large tarot spread, but it wasn't a 15 one. I think it was maybe a 10. And then here there's a whole list of the cards with some little explanations of it. So I guess I could play with it till I get the books, because some of those books probably not going to come for a couple of weeks. And I can go through this and read it. And then it shows here like the Tree of Life with Tarot wisdom in there. Yeah, it says Tarot attributions. Yeah. And then they do give you a suggested reading list here. Yeah, they suggest here the Book of Thoth by Aleister Crowley, by Tarot Divination by Aleister Crowley. They recommend some books on the Kabbalah. They recommend some books on magic. And then there's the Law of Thelema. So very interesting. And let's see what else is in here. Because see, I haven't even really looked at this book since I got it. In fact, I don't even remember seeing the explanation of the cards. I think I took one look at the deck and said, I have a lot to learn here, and I can't just sit down and read something and do it. I'm going to have to really learn it. So that's about it. And this version was printed by U.S. Games. So let's take a look at these cards. And they are not in the order that, I would see when I open a regular Rider-Waite deck, which is what most of my decks are, rare exception. So we have, for the Magician, we have the Magus, the colors in this deck are just exquisite. The artwork is beautiful. And there is so much symbolism in here. I'm going to have to do a great deal of reading here. But again, we have the Priestess. And I love these borders. They're like a very, very pale washed out green with a little darker green lines. Very, very pretty. And of course the backs are very lovely. I love the backs. And again, more beautiful colors. The Priestess. And a lot of the cards are not, at first you think that maybe they're Rider-Waite, but then you realize that the names are different, the orders are different. So lots of studying to be made with these cards. The Emperor. I mean, look at the beautiful colors in that card, the Hierophant. I mean, amazing. And it is so filled with symbols. I mean, my goodness. I mean, it looks like there's a Buddha in the corner here. And then it has the animals. And it looks like there's also some Egyptian. This here looks like something Egyptian. And the colors in the card are just exquisite. And then we have the Lovers, which is I think somewhat standard. You know, it's what you would expect to see if you thought the deck was somewhat like the Rider-Waite, to see the lovers. The Chariot is rather powerful. It looks like the charioteer is a warrior coming home from victory, very strong. But again, very much Rider-Waite-ish, right? And Adjustment is not the Strength card. I forget what it is. I'd have to read up on it. But 8 normally would be a Strength card for Rider-Waite, but this one is called Adjustment. Let's see if it says what it is. What is it called? If they give you the thing, let's see. Okay, they call that the Justice card. It's called Adjustment, but it's the Justice card. But the artwork is just exquisite on this deck. The colors are beautiful. I love the borders. Now here's the Hermit, which is number 9, like the Rider-Waite. I just love the art in this. And then we have the 10 is Fortune. And it's called, they refer to it as Destiny or Change of Fortune. And then 11 is Lust, but they call it Lust, but they describe it as a Strength card. Courage, strength, energy, great love affair, control of the life force. But again, a beautiful, beautiful card. And then we have the Hangman, which we all know. Now, it certainly does not have the meaning of Rider-Waite. One of the explanations of that is redemption through sacrifice. Interesting. And the death card is very similar to death cards you've seen in the Rider-Waite. But it also refers to an unscrupulous person, blind impulse, etc., etc. I won't read you all of that here, but it just gives you an idea of how it deviates in meaning from the Rider-Waite on many of these cards. Now this beautiful card is called Art. This is number 14, Art. I mean, they call it combination of forces, action based on accurate calculations, the way of escape. Oh dear, I need to read those books. I have a lot of learning to do if I want to use this deck at all. That's Art. Now we have 15, which is the Devil. Oh, excuse me, the Devil is the blind impulse. Sorry, I read that wrong. Yeah, it's blind impulse, temptation. Well, that's kind of what the Devil is, I guess, in Rider-Waite. Those words would fit. But also it talks about hard work and endurance. Well, I guess the devil works really hard trying to capture souls, right? I don't know. And then we have the Tower, which is pretty scary. I mean, you have an animal here breathing fire, right? And the meaning is very similar to Rider-Waite. You know, it's destruction of plans, danger, ruin. Okay, the Star. I won't read all the explanations. I'll just show you the decks because they're so pretty. It would take me forever if I kept talking on each one. The Moon. It's a very different Moon card. It almost looks like there's a little water on the moon and water below. But it's a pretty card. I love the Sun card. That's really beautiful. Now, the 20 is called the Aeon, And it says, new current for the future. And it says, always represents taking a definite step. But again, the color, I love those colors. The warm oranges and deep apricots and the teal greens. And the universe, same colors. Gorgeous, gorgeous card for the universe. I would highly recommend this deck if somebody wants something this beautiful. And also the quality of the cards. I like these cards. They're not too thin, they're not too thick. I don't like cards that are too thick. They're flexible. There's a nice surface on them, and there's a very slight gloss, but they're not overly glossy. I don't like overly glossy either. And they feel lovely. There's a lovely feel to them. So now the Fool. And it's interesting that they put the Fool, instead of the front of the major arcana, they had him at the end of the major arcana. And if you look at his feet, he is kind of in the air, so he's already taken that leap of faith. And of course there's a very large tooth, big cat attacking his leg. So it's also giving you the warning that when you take that leap of faith, you may meet something like that, I suppose. So it'll be interesting to read Crowley's interpretation of his own cards. Okay, so now we start with the wands, and I'm not going to talk about how they changed all of this because it's just too much to read. So it starts with the Knight of Wands. And they don't have a King of Wands. So I imagine somehow or some way the Knight is taking the place of the King, or the order is totally different. And the Queen of Wands. And then we have the Prince of Wands. Now, is that instead of the King? Or is that the Page? I don't know, because after the Prince of Wands, then they have a Princess of Wands. So you're going to see these titles in all of the various suits. So I'm not going to go over, I'm just going to show them, because I can't figure them out unless I have a book. And I'm not going to sit here and read the whole book. That would be a waste of your time and mine. So let's see. We have Oppression. And so here they call the Nine of Wands, they call the Strength card. And here's the Eight of Wands, is swiftness. And again, the word matches the Eight of Wands in the Rider-Waite deck, where you see all these wands flying through the air, everything happening very quickly. So there's enough similarity there where you can see it, but I have a feeling his meanings might be very different, because just from the few I've read, they're very different. Okay, so the 7 is called Valor. Six is Victory. Five is Strife. And that kind of equates to the Five of Wands, where all the group of guys are just all going in different directions and no one agreeing with everybody else with how they want to do things. And then they have the Four of Wands as completion. So I'm going to go back this afternoon and read the book. I'm going to go through the cards again and read the book for myself. And we have the Three of Wands here. It's funny, it's not showing somebody. Oh yeah, okay. The Two of Wands is Dominion. The Two and Three of Wands don't seem to be at all like the Rider-Waite of someone standing overlooking the water, either holding the world in their hand, or Three of Wands is waiting to see your ship come in. Doesn't relate to that at all. And then we have the Ace of Wands. And then we have the Knights. You have here the Pentacles. Again, look at the colors in that card. Is that not gorgeous? Wow. And then that color theme runs through all of the Pentacles cards. You know, the beautiful, deep, rich colors. Oh my goodness. Oh, Prince of, you know, we have the Prince of Pentacles here. Let's see. Wow. It's funny, I think there is a little nudity here, but I haven't seen anything that I would think anybody would take offense at. But I haven't looked at them that closely. I was just looking at the cards at first to get my first impression on the feeling of the cards. And there's certainly a lot of emotion in them and a lot of symbolism to try to figure out. Here's the Princess of Pentacles. And then the Ten of Pentacles, where they sort of change the colors a bit and stay mainly with the greens. Nine of Pentacles. But again, it doesn't have any of the references that you would see in the Rider-Waite deck, where you have the woman standing there with the bird and her beautiful grounds and gardens in the background. Totally different here. And if you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it there on the camera, but it looks like some of those figures are representing astrological signs there. And it seems like a lot of that symbolism of the astrology and maybe things from the Kabbalah, which I'm not familiar with, are in there. And here's the Eight of Pentacles, called Prudence. And Seven of Pentacles is called Failure. I'll have to watch some of the other YouTube videos too, where people will start explaining these and how to work with them till I get my books and start making some notes. Here's the Success card here. That's the Six of Pentacles. Pretty colors. And the Five of Pentacles is called Worry. Which I guess is similar to the meaning of the Rider-Waite Five of Pentacles, but again, the artwork here has no resemblance at all to the Rider-Waite. And the Four of Pentacles is Power. And the Three of Pentacles is called Work. In some of the cards, the keyword has some semblance or a reminder of what's in the Rider-Waite decks, but then the artwork doesn't give you a clue at all. So unless you knew in your memory what the Rider-Waite would be, you wouldn't know what that meant. And even if you do, I think when I start reading the book and getting the other books, his interpretation of work may be totally different than how I associate work with the Three of Pentacles. Okay, now I have Two of Pentacles is change. And interesting that they did use the two figures, just like in the Rider has the person kind of juggling two balls. This one has the yin-yang symbol in each of those. And they're also inside of the serpent. You know, to me, the serpents always relate to psychic things. I know when you read about snakes, it often is about intuition and stuff. So it'll be interesting to read. Again, I keep saying interesting to read because it will be. I have no idea where he was going with a lot of these. Okay, and then we have the Ace of Discs, very pretty card. And then we have the Knight of Swords. So as soon as I finish with this video, I'm going to consecrate this deck, and I'm going to shuffle it really well, and I'll get the video uploaded, and then I'm going to spend some time with this tonight with the book and see if I can garner some information and make some notes on it. And let's hear, we have the Queen of Swords. I saw one review where somebody had cut the deck, and I thought, oh, I love the border too much to ever think about cutting this deck. They do have a smaller version of it, so I guess you could get the smaller version. And I understand why somebody might want to cut a deck sometimes, because it's, you know, maybe hard to shuffle. But when a border is that beautiful, and it seems to correspond so well with the artwork too, it doesn't seem to be just somebody stuck a border on there to have a border. Here's the Princess of Swords. And we got the Ten of Swords. And the Nine of Swords. Eight of Swords. Futility. Which is the Seven of Swords. And the Six of Swords they call Science. And then the Five of Swords they call Defeat. You could sit and look, you could spend 10 minutes or more just looking at some of these cards, just one card, because there's so much in it. And the Four of Swords is called Truth. And then the Three of Swords, rightfully, is called Sorrow. I just love those green colors, just gorgeous. And here's the Two of Swords, which is called Peace. It certainly doesn't seem to me, if my memory serves me right, that the Two of Swords in Rider-Waite is, you know, they're crossed, but it's not relating to peace per se. Interesting. And then we have a very beautiful Ace of Swords here. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So beautiful. And then we come on to the cups here. Again, different colorations, beautiful, pale, watery blues and turquoises. Oh my goodness. And then you've got the crab in the cup. Ah, gorgeous. And then we have the Queen of Cups. I don't see a queen, but I see lotuses and water, and I see water birds like a crane. Beautiful card. And in the Prince of Cups, they do give you a figure. I imagine he's the substitute for the king. I haven't figured this out yet. But again, he's riding on a vehicle powered by this huge bird. And he's got a bird on his head. And again, there's all these symbolisms that I have to read about to find out exactly what they're saying. But I imagine that with the keywords, and if you know what the symbolisms mean, it might be easier, as the one gal said, to learn the deck. And then we have the Princess of Cups. I don't know, is that maybe the page? I don't know. Again, it looks like there's a turtle, and there's a fish, and there's a clamshell there, obviously all representing water and maybe emotions, intuition. Oh, Riley's protecting us from people bringing in their garbage cans. Here we have the 10 of Cups. And it's interesting, they switch from the blues to the oranges here. 10 of Cups. Riley, come here, honey. Riley, come on. Come see Mommy. Come on, up. Come on, up. There we go. Yeah, you say Mommy. Thank you for protecting our garbage cans. But Mommy already took hers in. Okay, we have the 9 of Cups here. You going to help me? Are you going to help me do this? Now, the 8 of Cups is called indolence. Indolence. But look at those gorgeous dark greens and the oranges. Ah. And I'm usually not a big orange lover per se. But sometimes when they're put in like this with the dark greens and stuff, they just have such an impact. They're just so beautiful. And then we have the 7 of Cups. And again, they go back to the lighter greens. Again, I mean, one card is more beautiful than the next in these. I just love it. And I think I will love them even more once I really understand their meanings and their symbols. And then we have the 6 of Cups, which is called pleasure. I would love to read whether or not Crowley actually, had sketches, rough sketches, amateur sketches of this, or did he have some art background? I don't know anything more about him other than what I read about him getting the same mantra that I got coming out of meditation. So it'll be interesting to see how that worked out with him giving the work to his girlfriend at that time and have her do this fabulous artwork. And then we have here the 5 of Cups, disappointment. And again, that relates somewhat to the Rider-Waite deck with the 5 of Cups, where some are spilled and the person doesn't see that he still has some left. And then we have the 4 of Cups. Now here's the 4 of Cups is called luxury. But again, in the Rider-Waite, the 4 of Cups is a totally different feeling and meaning. And it's not about luxury, it's about receiving an offer that you really don't want. The hand of God coming and making an offer, and you're going, nope, don't want that. I'm just going to sit here and fold my arms and be stubborn and wait for some inspiration until I get what I want. Okay, so we have the 3 of Cups, which is abundance. And we have the 2 of Cups, which they call love, which kind of relates to the Rider-Waite, partnership, a love relationship. 2 of Cups. And then lastly, we have the Ace of Cups. Again, the Ace is our gorgeous in here. This has all those same gorgeous colors. Beautiful, beautiful card. Now, there are several different versions of this deck that are various sizes. And if you go onto YouTube, you can see them. Now, this is the thickness of this deck. You know, it's not too thin, it's not too thick. It was packed well. Someone who ran the deck showed that their cars were very badly bent, but these aren't. These cars are in perfect condition. As you can see, that I've never really used them other than looking at them the first time I got them. So I will put them back in the box with the little booklet, and I will go over these after I consecrate this deck. And but I'm going to watch some of those videos. There's a video, and I wish I could remember the gal's name, but I did save her video on my saved list, where she had a lot of wonderful information about Crowley and his background and the organization he started. And so I've got to read a little bit more about this man, because I just know almost nothing about him. I know a lot of people don't like his energy. They thought he was into devil worship or something to that. I don't really know. But I know that when I read about him, when I had that experience with coming back with the mantra, is that he had to have been studying that kind of Vedic wisdom that I was studying at the time to be able to have a Sanskrit mantra come to him. And so, because the mantras that I use are all Sanskrit based. So I think that, and I would be interested in reading how he got from that set of beliefs and techniques, what brought him over into a whole different thing. Because I think that the gal was talking, whose video I was watching, she talked about the belief system of that organization that he belonged to or started, and I think there was like an aphorism like "do what you will," and I remember her saying that a lot of people thought that, oh, that must mean do whatever you want and the hell with everybody else. And she has a friend who actually is the head of one of the local organizations that he either started or belonged to. And that's not at all what the meaning is. It was the meaning of do what you want as long as you're not hurting others. You know, and I think absolutely that's the way to go. I think that's how you gain your power, is by following your urges without hurting anybody. You know, you have to exercise discernment, of course, but you have to be true to yourself, and you have to be natural into what feels good and right for you to do and a way to live for you. I remember recently talking about how I watched that movie Bohemian Rhapsody, and Freddie Mercury was never part of my early on music. You know, around the time when Freddie Mercury was getting started, I was listening to Carly Simon, Chicago, Sly and the Family Stone, you know, the people who were on Woodstock. But the only thing I knew about Queen was, you know, We Are the Champions and We Will Rock You, because those are anthemic songs that you hear at all football events and other sporting events. But I really didn't know anything about their story. And the movie just hit me so powerfully. I was so drawn to that person. And I got on YouTube and started watching every video I could have about him, about what his friends would say about him. And I got that live aid that they did, that 16-minute live aid show that is now, according to my son, who is a Hollywood agent, my son said, oh yeah, Mom, that is known as the best rock set of rock and roll ever. And he is known as the best frontman of a rock band ever. And he's also known as the best rock singer ever. And he just hit me so powerfully. And I started thinking, why am I attracted to this man? I don't know him. I started having dreams about him. What is it about him? And it occurred to me, he reminded me a lot of my channel teacher. And I'll tell you a very brief story. My channel teacher came in one time because he was channeling through the body of this young girl who was tiny, you know, I mean, strong in other ways, but her body was tiny. And during the talk one day, he said, where do you think my power comes from? He says, and I'm paraphrasing here, he says, it certainly doesn't come from the body of this beautiful young woman. So where do you think my power comes from? And there was a pause. And then he said, my power comes from someone I met a long time ago. Another pause. And he said, I met me. And I woke up this morning thinking about that and realizing that is why I was so drawn to Eddie Mercury. And I was telling this to my daughter-in-law the other night, and she said, yeah, I saw that movie. And she said, here I am watching everything I could with him on YouTube. I said, I did the same thing. She said, yeah, and I find myself being attracted to this dead gay man. I said, me too. I said, there's something about his energy. And I realized that's what it was. He allowed himself to be who he was. He didn't censor himself. And the videos I saw of people who knew him said he was the nicest, kindest, sweetest man, the best friend. Even when he ended relationships, he kept them as friends. Because just because the relationship was over in a certain place, he still wanted them in his life. And he maintained those friendships his whole life. But he lived his life in such passion and belief in himself. I mean, his friends said there was a time when he only had 1 or 2 shirts that he had to keep washing because he had no money. And yet he never stopped believing himself. And he never stopped going after his passion. He believed he would be a star. He believed he had what it took to go and get what he wanted. And he lived his life with the aphorism, I can and I will, I can and I will. And it's that power that people who do that, they get tremendous chi energy that makes them very, very attractive, and you just feel so pulled toward them. And it's because of that energy, because they're waking up that Christ self in themselves. They're being as real as they can be to who they are and what they were given in this lifetime. And maybe that's a lesson for the rest of us, you know. I can and I will, and just follow your dreams with passion and without the doubt, and let yourself be who you are. And, you know, I remember reading this title of a book. I never read the book, but it said, what you think of me is none of my business. So stop worrying about what other people think. Live your life with love, compassion, charity, and non-judgment, and without ever wanting to hurt somebody in word or deed. And you'll find joy, and you'll find more empowerment, and you'll be tapping into that wisdom that you are divinity, because you are. We all are. We are all God in that little bits of God consciousness in that ocean of consciousness called God. There's nothing that isn't God, and we're all part of that. So that's my little ramble after the thing. So while I'm at it, let me do a card here. Let's see if I can pick out a different card, because I keep getting the same cards. I have like at least 44 cards in here, and I'm always picking the same 3 or 4 cards. And I think the universe is just saying that. Do this right now. You just stay on this path right now. Stay on this path. So here we go. None fell out, so I grabbed one. Okay. Okay, this one, I think I may have gotten this one once. It says, when you are willing to love all that you are, it is easier to look at all that is true about you. You cannot change what you refuse to see. Okay, so that's June's Ascension cards, Road to Ascension cards. So at least I got one that I haven't gotten 20 times. I love you all. I thank you for stopping by and for watching and the review of the deck, and for staying through my ramble if you did. And if you can, and you haven't already, please hit the like button. Everybody says that, so hit the like button. I'm not monetizing this side or anything, but it feels good to know that if somebody's watching it, that they like that, if nothing else, that I took the time to make a video. I love you, I love you, I love you. Take care. Namaste, my friends. Good night.